Welcome to the Mama Civet YouTube channel. In this workout, we're going to be doing a pre-race running mobility flow that is 15 minutes long that you can do while you are waiting for your race to start. Hey, my name is Sheena. I'm a perinatal fitness trainer and birth doula and mama for it. I just ran the Disney World Goofy Challenge at 16 months postpartum. And the Goofy Challenge is when you do a half marathon and then the very next day you do a full marathon. And so this was a mobility flow that I did before my races to help my legs feel moderately fresh going into the runs after not only doing a half marathon the day before the marathon, but also doing full days in the parks with my kids coming up to the race and then post-race in preparation for the marathon. So you don't need any equipment. This is all gonna be standing exercises. So once you feel ready to go, we're gonna move through 15 minutes together. So for the first exercise, it's gonna be a standing hip shift. I'm gonna put weight into my left foot, and then I'm gonna sink my weight into that hip. So I'm gonna put more weight into that left, let that right hip come forward, and you're gonna feel a big stretch in the deep glute area. So the more I think like my right hip and left knee are trying to touch one another, so I'm trying to bring those 2 points together, the deeper it's gonna bring you into that shift. If you're not really feeling it a lot in the glute, just think about shifting your weight more into that left foot, and then keep that left big toe down as well. So this is stretching more of that deep glute area, the back half of the pelvic floor, which sometimes can get a little bit tighter as we are running and as we are just kind of standing around as well, especially if you've been upright all day. So we're gonna think about bringing those 2 points together, and we're just gonna breathe here. If you're feeling it more in your low back, just take like slight round in the back and then shift into that hip a little bit more. And in about 10 seconds, we're gonna switch to do the right side, and then we're gonna alternate and then add in some arm swings. Go ahead and put weight into that right foot now. So I'm gonna shift my weight into the right leg, trying to bring that left hip towards that right knee. So bring those 2 points together. Keep that right big toe down, and you should feel a big stretch in that right glute kind of hip pocket area. So if I was wearing jeans, where I would put my hands into my pocket is the place that we're trying to feel this sensation. And again, if you're not really feeling it, we want to put more weight into that right side, really think about that right big toe staying down. And then I'm trying to bring left hip and right knee closer by rotating that pelvis on that femur. If you're feeling it a ton in the hamstrings, just bend the knee a little bit more. Sometimes we keep that leg too straight, so a slight bend can take it out of the hamstrings as well. In about 10 seconds, we're just gonna alternate from side to side, and then we're gonna come into arm swings with the alternation. So go ahead and have the feet be more parallel towards one another. We're gonna shift our weight into our left, and then we're gonna shift our weight into our right. So we're just kind of alternating that weight shift from side to side, adding in some pelvic rotation. So my pelvis is rotating on my femur. I'm thinking about lots of weight in both big toes. So we're trying to find that same deep glute stretch that we felt on each side and just alternating from side to side. So left hip is coming towards right knee, and then right hip is going towards left knee, keeping weight in the big toes and just switching from side to side. After this, we're gonna add in some exaggerated arm swings. So it may speed up the motion, it may slow it down for you, depending on what you need for coordination. But the main focus here is we're feeling more of a stretch in the back side of the pelvis, more in kind of the deep glute area. And now add in a little bit of an arm swing. So the arms are kind of reaching forward and backwards, and then maybe you get a little bit faster with it. But we want to really exaggerate the rotation in the upper body. When we're running, we want the thoracic spine or your rib cage to be twisting and to be rotating. It helps to help your pelvis actually move while you're running, which can help to improve your stride. So adding a little bit of thoracic mobility can be helpful as well. So we're just exaggerating it a little bit by adding in that arm swing, really reaching forward. You can go as slow or as fast as you'd like. Still feeling that deep glute stretch. In about 15 seconds, we're gonna come to a lateral hip shift, which is gonna target more of like the inner thigh and the groin area. So here we have like a little bit more hamstring deep glute. And then we're gonna move into more of like the groin and inner thigh. So go ahead and spread the feet out just a little bit wider than hip distance. And we're gonna shift our weight towards the left. So you should feel again, right hip is trying to reach that left knee. So we have that rotation in the pelvis. Feeling a really big stretch in that right inner thigh, groin area. And I'm just kind of reaching for that left foot. So left big toe is staying down, right big toe is staying down. And if you need, you can kind of adjust your stance if you feel like it's a little too wide. Sometimes we need to be a little bit narrower than we think we do. But really trying to feel more of that stretch in that inner thigh. And the best way to do that is to think this pelvis is rotating towards the left side. So I'm trying to touch my right hip to my left knee. In about 5 seconds, we're gonna switch to do the other side. And now let's shift our weight over to the right. I'm thinking left hip now is coming towards that right knee, feeling that big stretch in the right inner thigh groin area. Keeping weight in both big toes, keeping them down on the floor, trying to bring those 2 points. And if you want, you can reach across with that right or left hand towards that right foot. After this, we're gonna alternate from side to side, adding in that arm swing. So it's just feeling more of that stretch in the right groin or the left groin and inner thigh, excuse me. The more you think rotate to bring that left hip towards the right knee, the more you're gonna feel it in that groin. If you're just shifting your weight over towards that side, you're not gonna feel as much of a stretch as when you add in that twist in the hips. And now let's add in that shift from side to side with the swinging of the arms. So we're adding in more of that thoracic rotation. And we're just shifting our weight from side to side. We're gonna feel a stretch and then we're gonna switch. Feel the stretch and then switch. But we're really focusing on that pelvis is rotating from side to side. The straighter leg hip is moving closer to the floor. So we've got more of that lateral mobility happening within the pelvis. For me, when I'm running, a lot of the time, I'm kind of favoring certain positions for a long time. Maybe I'm not getting enough extension. Maybe I'm like not extending on my foot enough or my heel isn't dropping enough. And so sometimes adding in this extra mobility beforehand helps to kind of prep in anticipation for that. So now we're gonna do some heel walks. So I'm gonna come up onto my heels and I'm just gonna walk forward to feel a big stretch in my calf. You can also just do this in place where you just kind of like shift from foot to foot. But for me, because when I'm running, I normally hit mid-foot. I'm not normally hitting from my heel. And so sometimes my calves get a little bit tighter as I'm running. And so adding in this bit of mobility before the run can be super helpful, especially if you've had harder training runs a few days prior, maybe feeling a little bit more sore, or if you're like me and you ran a half marathon the day before your marathon. After this, we're gonna go from heel walks to toe extension, which is sometimes another thing that starts to kind of go away as you get more fatigued, as we don't have as much extension in the leg. So we're gonna kind of force it. So now we're gonna heel walk, come up on the toe, heel walk, come up on the toe, and just alternate from foot to foot. So we've got more of that full range of motion with the big toe from heel to big toe. Other things that I found really helpful as a part of my preparation for the race is I get really cold super easily. Like I love living in the South where it's nice and warm and cozy, but sometimes these races, they start early and they're very chilly. But I know once I start running, I'm not gonna be quite as cold anymore. And so something that I found really helpful during this last race was I had purchased some hypothermia blankets that were pretty inexpensive and they were really easy to just kind of toss after the race started. And they were really small, so I can carry them in my bag pretty easily as well. So now we're gonna come into some hip cars. So we're just gonna lift the foot up and then just kind of do some like hip circles. Now, normally with cars, you're going like super, super slow and we're trying to isolate the movement in the joint. When I'm trying to just prep for a run, the extra just like movement in my hip in the circular pattern just feels really good. So for me, I think it's okay to not have this be like the perfect movement right now, just because it's bringing some extra movement. So the hypothermia blankets that I brought, like this is how big. They were like the size of my palm, pretty tiny. So I just had it in my little like running pouch. If you want to switch directions, feel free as well. Sometimes I like to do just like 10 circles in each direction. And so that was super nice for this last race because before the marathon, it was definitely a little bit chillier than the half. And so having the hypothermia blanket really helped keep me warm before it started. Let's go ahead and switch sides. Something else that I had prepped but ended up not using because it was pretty humid, especially like once the race started, was some arm sleeves. I had used that in previous races where it was like a little bit chillier when it started, but I knew like after a mile or two I was gonna warm up. And so I had these like arm sleeves prepped so that you can just either roll them down and put them in to your little fanny pack that you carry. Let's go ahead and switch directions. So those are just like two things that I had prepped to help keep me a little bit warmer before the race started, especially if you're running a race in a place that's like a little bit more chilly. I've heard of people having like throwaway clothes where they have like sweaters and like sweatpants or pajamas that they throw, but I just didn't want to do that. So I thought the blankets were more inexpensive and easier to do. So now we're gonna do some knee pulls. We're gonna come up, I'm gonna pull that knee up. If you wanna just keep the foot flat, you can. If you wanna add a little bit of like toe extension, feel free as well. So we have like extension in this hip as we pull the knee into the chest. You may find finding a little bit of like support feels a little bit better for it as well. For me, even during the races, doing this, like if I had any points where I was walking a little bit more, felt really good just to add a little bit of stretch and extension in my other hip. If there's anything else that you use for your races in preparation for it, be sure to drop it in the comments to let us know. I knew about like the throwaway clothes, but I didn't know about the hypothermia blankets. All right, so now you're gonna put your hand on something. We're just gonna come into some leg swings, adding in a little bit of thoracic rotation as well. So all of my pre-race or pre-run warm-up is gonna be a lot more dynamic work. Pre-race, I also will have some sort of snack, like a banana, maybe some gels or chews. And then I'll try to drink some water with like electrolytes in it. Element is my personal favorite. You can check out our link down in the notes below. Lemonade is my fave, personally. Lemonade and watermelon. I have heard of people kind of combining them together though. Let's go ahead and switch sides now. Overall, the races felt pretty good. The Disney ones are definitely super fun. During them, there's like a bunch of characters along the way. I think during the marathon, there was like 50 characters you can stop at and see. During the half, I think there was like 30. And some of them are like rare characters or ones you don't normally ever see in the parks. So I had a few that were on my list that I wanted to stop for. During the marathon, you run through all 4 parks. A lot of parking lots and stuff too, but they do a good job with it. I had a ton of fun. I'll definitely do it. Again, I'm debating the Dopey challenge, where you do the 5K, the 10K, the half, and then the full. But I don't want to wake up every day at 2 a.m. 4 days in a row. And that concludes the mobility warm-up that I was doing for my races. It was a lot of upright stuff where I was just kind of stretching areas that tended to be a little bit tighter for me. So my inner thighs and groin, the back of my glute and pelvic floor. I was adding a lot of thoracic mobility, stuff for my calves, stuff for my hips, were kind of like the main areas that I was thinking of. If you have any other warm-up moves that you really love to do pre-race, be sure to comment them down below. Even just going for like a short walk or jog can sometimes be helpful as well. But I hope this helps you to prepare for your next run or your next race. And if you want more support from us to either prepare for your next running race, to get back into running after you give birth, check out our online Return to Running postpartum programs, in addition to our Return to Marathon postpartum program. And you can use code YouTube10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings, because we would love to support you on your journey to get back to the roads.